Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone, episode number 339 for the 19th of March 2017. Richard Saunders here with you from muggy, rain-soaked and muggy Sydney, Australia. As I look out the window now, the showers have just, for the moment, stopped, but they'll be back again. We've had one of the wettest Marches on record, one of the wettest months of March, and I think it's going to continue. I don't mind that so much, but must it be so sticky, warm, hot? Coming up on this week's show, an update from the Raw Skeptic, Heidi Robertson, on the David Avocado Wolfe situation. This is the man who believes the world is flat. You know, I found that hard to believe myself when I first heard that he believes the world is flat, but then I read some of his tweets. Heidi appeared on the local TV news, the Prime 7 News in her region up in the north coast of New South Wales, to speak about this issue. We're going to play that audio, and then we're going to be chatting to Heidi about the latest updates from that area of the world and the tour of David Avocado Wolfe. Heidi Robertson, the Raw Skeptic, joining us on the phone line shortly from the north coast of New South Wales. Following that, I'm going to let you in on some details of a project I'm working on to do with predictions, predicting the future. Can people predict the future? Have they? I've been marking a lot of homework. Oh boy. I'm going to tell you more about this project a bit later on in the show. Then we have a clip from New Zealand Radio, the Radio Live network, with the Drive program with Ali Mao. And Ali's going to be speaking to our very own Dr. Rachael Dunlop, in her Dr. Rachie Reports segment. Dr. Rachie's going to be chatting on New Zealand Radio about finding health information online. A lot of people run to Dr. Google. I do it. I'm sure you do it yourself. You got something a bit wrong with you. Something's appeared. What's that bump? What's that rash? I'd better ask Dr. Google. Find out what Dr. Rachie thinks about Dr. Google when she was interviewed on New Zealand Radio. In fact, she's been interviewed all around the world. Lots of people after Dr. Rachie's opinion, and you can listen to all those interviews with a link I will put in the show notes. But if you can't wait that long, it's drrachie.com, one word, drrachie/research. Then to round off the show, it's a report, an update on the Belle Gibson saga. Belle Gibson, this is the young lady who hoodwinked the world into thinking she had brain cancer, which she cured using diet and good thinking and natural therapies, when all the time she didn't have brain cancer at all. Well, she had her day in court, and we'll be reporting about that at the end of the show. A big congratulations to my friend Lara Benham, who you hear occasionally on the Skeptic Zone when Maynard does his interviews at Skeptics in the Pub. Today, Lara became an Australian citizen, and I was very delighted to be at the Ashfield Park for the citizenship ceremony. Congratulations, Lara, and welcome to being a citizen, I guess you'd say. Thank you to those people who wrote in telling me how much they enjoyed last week's episode, the craziness at Maynard Studios. And I promise you, most of that was simply as it happened. It was... Sometimes when you wind up Maynard, that's it. You just have to let him go and do his crazy stuff. Actually, I love visiting Maynard Studios. It's as crazy as it sounds. It really is. It really is. And somebody was asking me how they can get in touch with Maynard for gigs, because Maynard is available for DJ work and emceeing bands and things like that. Look, just go to maynard.com.au and drop him a line. But you have been warned, you'll never know what to expect. And I'm delighted to see that Maynard's own podcast, Bunga Bunga and so on, have been nominated in the shortlist, or have been shortlisted, for the Comedy and Entertainment category at the Podcasting Awards, the Castaway Awards. Congratulations, Maynard. That's fantastic. Shortlisted for the Gong there. And I think those awards are coming up on the 1st of April. So good luck, Maynard. But now it's time for me to run downstairs and, no, I won't run downstairs. I'll just pick up this glass of ice and lemon juice. Oh, you know, it's so muggy in here that all the moisture in the air has condensed on this glass. And as soon as I pick it up, it just dribbled down my leg. That'll teach me. While I clean that up, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
It's the Raw Skeptic Report with Heidi Robertson.
The Byron Shire Council has been criticised for letting an anti-vaccination campaigner use the Mullumbimby Civic Hall for an event. Immunisation supporters say it's a kick in the guts to local children who have lost their lives.
He's the controversial conspiracy theorist with more than 10 million followers on Facebook. David Avocado Wolfe is known worldwide for his strong anti-vaccination stance, and tonight he'll be speaking in Mullumbimby.
We would hate to see him talk about vaccination in an area with such low vaccination rates as it is.
Mullumbimby has Australia's lowest immunisation rate, with more than 50% of the population unvaccinated. The Northern Rivers vaccination supporters are criticising the Byron Shire Council for allowing the event to be held.
It's concerning that the council, who also run immunisation clinics throughout the Shire, would let an anti-vaccination proponent speak in Mullumbimby.
But the council says there's no rules or regulations for the Civic Hall and won't cancel the event.
At this point in time, we currently don't have a policy to say who can or who can't use the halls.
Some locals agree.
I think people are entitled to their own opinions about it.
Free speech. It's what Anzacs are all about. It's what all the wars have been fought about for this country, for the right to free speech.
The vaccination supporters don't.
Where do you draw the line at providing someone a platform when it could potentially put the community at risk? Would the council have, would they have hired the hall out to a group that incites racial hatred or violence against women?
Health professionals have also highlighted the importance of immunisation.
It's not only for the individuals themselves but for the rest of the community.
Adding a simple jab saves lives. Lucy Langtree, Prime 7 News.
Well, that was Heidi Robertson, our very own Raw Skeptic, on the local TV news in the Northern Rivers. And joining me now all the way from the region is Heidi. Hello, Heidi.
Hello again.
Hello again. Well done. It's not always easy being on TV news.
No, I had about 20 minutes notice this time, so I didn't even have time to have a shower or put my face on, Richard.
Well, you came across pretty good, I thought.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, look, I think it's important that when media contact us, we're always available for them to talk and to establish a good relationship with them so that they know that they can contact us at any time.
I think that's a terrific idea. And not only have our listeners just heard you doing that interview on TV, that in this week's show notes I'll link to the video so they can see you without your face on.
Oh, excellent. The other thing I was just going to mention was something I was really happy about was when they did call me to do the interview, I asked them if they had already interviewed any anti-vaccination proponents because I think, as you know, we've got a policy at Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters that we don't do false balance, so we will not appear alongside anti-vaccination people on camera or radio or in print. If it's about the safety and efficacy of vaccination, we don't want to give them false legitimacy. So I said that to the reporter on the phone, and he said, look, we have already been down to Mullumbimby and spoken to some anti-vaccination people. And I said, well, I'm sorry, then I'm not willing to do the interview. And she then agreed to not air the views of those anti-vaccination people, and she came up and did the interview. So I was pretty happy with that.
That's good. I did notice they were sort of doing a general vox pops of sort of people in the street, and I guess that's a different thing to get a feel for the community. But the vehement anti-vaxxers, no. Now, since the last time we spoke to you, of course, we had this David Avocado Wolfe fellow coming to Australia, which I think he's still in the country. He was scheduled to speak at one venue in the Northern Rivers, and that was changed to a hall in the little town of Mullumbimby. What have you gathered since that meeting went ahead?
Oh, my goodness, where do you start? Well, so yes, it was changed from a small cafe, the venue in Byron Bay, to the Mullumbimby Civic Hall, which is a much larger venue, because of demand for the tickets to see Mr. Wolfe. So we were notified about that. That's when we started to call on our local MPs and our council to come out in support of us and state their stance on vaccination for one thing, but also to say that it's not acceptable for a partially funded, so the hall is partially funded by council and therefore taxpayers, and we thought it was inappropriate for them to host an anti-vaccination proponent, particularly as council also runs immunisation clinics in the area. We didn't get any response to start with at all from the local MPs or the council. When the media got a hold of it, and we had nothing to do with that, the media got a hold of it all by themselves. They also approached council, who were very reluctant to speak at first. I think a spokesperson for them said, to begin with, that council does not have a position on vaccination, which I thought was shocking enough in itself. You would have thought that they'd come out in strong support of vaccination, but they said, no, we don't have a position either way. Then the Northern Star, reporter from the Northern Star, one of our local papers up here, approached the councillors and asked them each what their views on vaccination were, and there were a couple of them that came out as anti-vaccination, one of them that didn't want to make a comment, one of them who came out strongly in support of vaccination. So it was a bit of a mixed bag there, and I guess we now know where we stand with council. They're not willing to come out in support of our group. They're not willing to come out cohesively and say that, yes, our position is that we support vaccination. So it's quite disappointing. We have one of the MPs that did make sort of a wishy-washy statement saying, yes, I'm in favour of vaccination, but I also support informed health choice, which is kind of an anti-vax weasel word for, and I think they're just worried about losing votes. Whichever way they go, they're going to lose votes. Because it's 50-50 here in Mullumbimby, 50% vaccinate, 50 don't.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, the area is famous for a very low vaccination rate.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, Mullumbimby is the postcode. That postcode is one that has 46% of 5-year-olds fully vaccinated. So it's appalling that council would endorse this renting out the hall. And 3 of the councillors, including the mayor, are on the managerial board for the hall. So they've endorsed hiring out the hall for an anti-vaccination proponent. And not only that, the same hall with the same councillors also leased the hall out in November or December last year for a screening of Vaxxed, the anti-vaccination documentary. Yeah. And they also leased the hall out earlier last year for just a general anti-vax forum, against the no jab, no pay. So they've had a history of doing this. I think it's just only my personal opinion, but I think they full well knew that David Wolfe was anti-vaccination, and they decided to go with him anyway. I
wouldn't be at all surprised. And I must say, Heidi, I am particularly outraged because I have performed in that hall myself.
Have you? And so have my kids. A lot of the school kids have concerts there.
Absolutely. Yeah. How about that? Many years ago, I did a couple of plays, actually, in that civic hall. So, yes, not good at all. But I also noticed in the last little while...
You should put a link to that in the show notes, Richard.
We should.
That recording.
I don't know if it exists. However, we should also note that the Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, has come out in the last week very strongly in favour of vaccination.
Yes, he has. That was amazing. That was actually instigated by Tony McCaffrey's spot on the TV show here called The Project. She went on actually in response to Pauline Hanson, another politician's comments about vaccination, and how Pauline Hanson said that parents should, quote, do their own research. So Tony McCaffrey, who lost her baby daughter Dana to whooping cough at 32 days old, she was too young to be vaccinated, here in the Northern Rivers, she went on The Project to talk about Pauline Hanson's comments and said how disappointed and gutted she was, really, that politicians weren't 100% behind immunisation. And as a result of that interview that Tony did for The Project, Malcolm Turnbull got in touch with her, our Prime Minister, and he had a one-on-one meeting with her to discuss what could be done in the Northern Rivers. So we're hoping something will come of that. We're hoping that, because he did say that he would send someone up here to have a look at what's going on and to take a walk in our shoes and see that our local MPs and council aren't really supporting us. And, you know, it's really hard for us as an unfunded, just community grassroots group of parents. It's hard for us when we don't have that support of local politicians. So we're hoping that something comes of that.
I think that's great. And as we've always known, Heidi, that we're in this for the very long haul, the long game. These things don't fix themselves overnight. We can't just make a lot of noise and everything will get better. It's just a very long slog for everybody, and it can last for years, but we do have our victories.
Yeah, and I don't think I fully appreciated that when I first got into this whole vaccine advocacy. I was so naive to start with. I just thought, well, if we tell people, if we give them the right information, then problem solved. That's how naive I was. And I remember a meeting in the very early days with Public Health, and one of the Deputy Director of North Coast Public Health up here said to me, "You know what you're getting yourself in for?" He said, "You've grabbed a tiger by the tail." He said, "Be prepared." And I thought, nah, it can't be that bad. And what is that, 4 years later? Yeah, it is. He was absolutely right. And it is a long haul, and it's a step-by-step process. And we've got some drawbacks, and then we've got some successes. I mean, I remain hopeful. I think we're slowly turning the tide. People are getting more angry. Locals are getting more angry. And that's as a result of what's happened over the last few days.
I'm sure it is. Now, do we have any intelligence, any information about what Wolfe actually spoke about in the hall?
Not that I'm aware of. I've actually stayed off social media all day today, which is a first for me, but I needed a break. So I don't know if anyone there has come out and said what if he actually did broach the subject of vaccination. I know that on the Facebook page of the ABC North Coast, they had a reporter who was refunded her ticket, because at the last minute, of course, David Wolfe put a ban on all media, which was kind of ironic because all of his followers were accusing us of trying to suppress his free speech, and then he put a ban on the media.
Yes.
So I think ABC Radio didn't take too kindly to that, and they said on their Facebook page, if anyone did go to this event, we'd love to hear what he actually talked about. And last I saw, I don't think anyone's responded to that.
All right.
So,
we'll keep our feelers out, and we'll give an update to our listeners if we get that information. But now, before we go, Heidi, and I'll let you get back to your day off, which I've interrupted, there's a story just come to light in the last couple of days about a tetanus situation, of all things.
Yeah, can you believe it? Tetanus in this day and age, it's completely preventable. And a poor little girl, 7 years old, from our region, was airlifted on Wednesday night from Lismore Base Hospital up to Brisbane, suffering from tetanus, which there's no cure for tetanus, like many of these vaccine-preventable diseases. That's why we've got vaccines for them, because there's no cure. So it was confirmed that she was not vaccinated due to her parents' different sort of alternative thinking and ideology. A local paediatrician who treated the child went to the media and told them about the little girl who was in a critical condition. I don't know how she's doing. I hope she's doing well, and I can only imagine what her parents are going through right now. We have seen a lot of comments on social media condemning the parents and making some quite vicious comments about the parents. And look, the way we look at it is these parents, they're victims of the anti-vaccination movement, of the professional anti-vaccination movement. And when I mentioned that on one of the threads on Facebook, someone said, what's professional about them? You know, I said, well, by that I mean that these are people that actually make money out of spreading the misinformation about vaccination. People like David Wolfe, who ironically was speaking in Mullumbimby as this girl was fighting for her life from a vaccine-preventable disease. And people like the Australian Vaccination Skeptics Network up here, they're the professional people that make money out of spreading misinformation. And vulnerable parents get sucked into it. And these parents are victims of that. So I think, it's my opinion that we really need to have compassion at this time for these parents, because the other thing is if they see the pro-vaccination community vilifying them and condemning them, they're not likely to come out and speak about their experience further. They're not likely to change their minds. The old confirmation bias might set in and they might stick to their guns and continue to not vaccinate their kids. So I know people are very, very angry, as am I, that this poor little girl is going through what she's going through. But I think we just need to, like you said before, look at the big picture, the long game of it, and see how we're coming across. And we don't want to sink to the level of the anti-vaxxers who do vilify parents that are going through a hard time.
Yes, they certainly do, and you're absolutely right. We must try to maintain our standards in all situations. We're all human, of course, but we really must strive to do that. Well, look, Heidi Robertson, the Raw Skeptic, thank you so much for all this wonderful, interesting updates to the ongoing story of David Wolfe and the vaccination issue up in the far north coast of New South Wales. Again, I'll let you get back to your day off, and we look forward to your next report.
Thank you very much, and thank you again for your continued support of our group. It's much appreciated.
Thanks, Heidi.
Hi, this is Heidi Robertson from the Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters. We are a group of concerned citizens dedicated to promoting good science and common sense in our region, the far north coast of New South Wales. This area, famous for its natural beauty and relaxed lifestyle, also has the lowest rates of vaccination in Australia. We are out to change that by challenging the myths and misinformation and by providing good evidence-based information to the community. We'd love for you, no matter where you are in the world, to join our fight. Please visit our webpage at www.nrvs.info. We also have a link there to our Facebook page. Tweet us at NRVaxSupporters, that's VAX, and check us out on Wikipedia by searching for Northern Rivers Vaccination Supporters. Thank you.
Calling all Skeptic Zone listeners. Do you live in or near Glasgow, or are you planning to visit sometime? Then you're in luck, because the Glasgow Skeptics have got your Monday nights sorted. We're committed to filling up every available Monday night with talks on science and scepticism. Past speakers include Eugenie Scott, Jerry Coyne, Michael Marshall, Nate Phelps, Tom and Cecil from Cognitive Dissonance, PZ Myers, Richard Wiseman, AC Grayling, Noah Heath and Eli from The Scathing Atheist, Simon Singh, Rebecca Watson, and a multitude of local academics and skeptics. There's literally nothing better you can do on a Monday night in Glasgow that doesn't involve taking your clothes off. So come join us. We've also got a vibrant online community. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and get involved with the discussion. Glasgow Skeptics. Self-help for your brain.
And now, direct from the cafe at Australia's Science Channel, it's Brew Ha Ha with Tania Meyer.
The world has been divided into those people who use antibacterial soap and those who don't. And for those of you playing at home, you guessed it, plain old soap and water win. The US has just banned antibacterial and antimicrobial soaps containing chemicals like triclosan and triclocarbon because there's no scientific evidence to show they work any better than regular soap and water. But more than that, they could be helping cause antibiotic resistance. So day to day, to keep those bugs away, just wash and dry your hands properly. You don't need anything fancy. Of course, though, alcohol is a good sanitizer, which is why I like to wash my hands in the finest gin with just a hint of lime, because I'm worth it.
For more Brew Ha Ha and Australian science, head for www.australiascience.tv.
Hallo aan alle Nederlandse luisteraars. Op dit moment bent u aan het luisteren naar de Skeptic Zone, voor wetenschap en kritisch nadenken. Voor meer informatie ga naar www.skepticzone.tv.
From the website of Australian Skeptics, skeptics.com.au, written by Tim Mendham on the 15th of March 2017, Belle Gibson. Guilty, but delusional. And now for the next fad. Now this is an update to the long-running saga of one Belle Gibson who hoodwinked the media and society a couple of years ago into thinking she cured her terminal brain cancer by regime of wellness and alternative medicine. It turns out she didn't have brain cancer at all, and the whole thing appeared to be a big con. Well, Belle Gibson has had her day in court, and the report by Tim Mendham reads as follows. Belle Gibson has been found guilty of misleading and deceptive conduct in the federal court for claiming that special diets and alternative medicine had cured brain cancer that she never had. In her findings, Justice Debra Mortimer added that the fake wellness blogger may have been suffering, quote, some kind of delusion, end quote, that she had cancer rather than acting unconscionably, as Consumer Affairs Victoria had insisted. Quote, she may well have had other psychological or psychiatric issues, end quote, the published ruling said. Gibson may face personal fines of up to $220,000, and her company, Inkerman Rhodes Nominees, could be fined $1.1 million. Inkerman is now in liquidation. Gibson was not in court to hear the judgment, but she is already spruiking another treatment which she says helped her pass a 60-centimetre ropeworm, prevented 2 of her teeth from needing fillings, reduced the size of her tonsils by about 30%, and is changing the hue of her hazel eyes into, quote, green with blue underneath, end quote. The Age news website says she made the claims in a now deleted post on the Master Fast System Facebook page. According to The Age, MFS espouses New Age fasting and cleansing and encourages members to share, quote, how to clean our pipes like plumbers, end quote, and it's, quote, not bound by any man-made paper and or laws, end quote, and is, quote, based on Master Lou Gino's understanding of space plasma technology, nature, and many amazing, brilliant teachers, end quote. Gibson was apparently disappointed that she didn't have a camera with her to film the huge rope worm for posterity. She made hundreds of thousands of dollars after building a social media empire based on her false cancer claims, launching an app and releasing a cookbook, The Whole Pantry, through Penguin Publishing. She also falsely claimed that a portion of the money she had made would go to charity. Inkerman received $420,000 from sales of the book and the app. Gibson admitted in an interview with the Australian Women's Weekly in 2015 that her diagnosis was not real. She had said that she had turned away from conventional treatment for cancer in favour of dieting and alternative medicine. However, just as Mortimer said, quote, "There is no evidence to suggest Miss Gibson had any conventional cancer treatment," end quote. And that story comes to us from the Australian Skeptics, and I believe that Miss Belle Gibson has been given some more time for more evidence from her part or an appeal. But we will keep you updated as developments arise.
Sziasztok!
Всем привет!
Hey allihop! Guys, I just had the most amazing experience.
What experience, Andras?
Andras, have you been to the pub? I told you not to hang out with Marsh. You know he was blessed by Peter Popov.
No, Yelena, I'm not talking about psychics. It was a real ESP experience.
You have been to the pub. Either that or you've been smoking something.
No, Pontus, the ESP is the European Skeptics podcast. It's the most amazing thing. You get to know so much about skeptics and their activities across Europe. You know, events, hot topics, and interviews with lots of interesting people.
Oh wow, cool. By the way, Pontus, you just committed the false dichotomy fallacy.
I guess that means I'm really wrong.
Yep. And you can even learn about those fallacies on the show and hear about people spreading silly ideas. You should really check it out. It's the ESP, the European Skeptics Podcast. It's on every week.
Alright, so where can I get this ESP experience? It sounds good.
You can go online at theesp.eu, follow it on Twitter at espodcast_EU, or like the podcast on Facebook. Oh, and you can also contact the show by sending them an email to info@theesp.eu. And if you want to subscribe, do a quick search for the European Skeptic Podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, or Stitcher.
Crazy. I don't know how you can believe.
Now it's time for Dr. Rachie Reports with Dr. Rachael Dunlop.
Hello listeners and welcome to Dr. Rachie Reports. Well, this week I wrote an article on the Conversation website about improvements to Dr. Google designed to return more accurate science-based information. This move by Google is in part in response to the proliferation of pseudoscience on their browser and also just to help people find more reliable information online. They have noticed that about 1% of all searchers globally are now searching for health information, and so they've decided to do something about returning information that is more accurate. So this piece was republished across the country in the Fairfax Press, and as a result, I got asked to do quite a lot of media. So today we present to you my interview on Dr. Google from Radio Live, Auckland, New Zealand.
If you've ever felt a little poorly and decided that before you get it checked out, or instead of getting it checked out, you'll plug your symptoms into the Google machine just to see what's wrong with you, well, you may have got the right diagnosis and you may not have, but more and more of us are doing exactly that. The number of people turning to the internet for diagnosis for their ills is rising rapidly, and Google might even be a better option than the way a lot of people are doing it these days, and that's by talking to each other on Facebook, which is, you know, if you extrapolate that out, potentially a recipe for disaster. There's some interesting research going on this, and research fellow Dr Rachael Dunlop from Macquarie University is with me. Rachel, how much are we getting our health advice, or more importantly, advice about what might be wrong with us from Facebook?
Yeah, well, it looks like from the statistics, about 2/3 of people worldwide use Google as their preferred browser, and about 90% of us only look at the front page of Google. So if something doesn't come up on page one, we're not seeing it. And surprisingly, about 20% of people actually use Facebook to get medical advice, which to me is a bit of a surprise and probably a bit of a concern as well. So yeah, we're definitely using the internet more and more these days to search for health information.
What is predatory publishing? Is this the medical form of fake news, and why is it such a problem?
Well, it kind of is in a way. It's publishers that are just set up to publish anything that's basically any sort of science as long as you pay them. So people have actually done experiments where they've made a computer-generated scientific paper that makes absolutely no sense. It just contains gobbledygook, and they've submitted it to these journals, scientific journals, and they've had it published as long as they pay them. So basically this waters down the quality of scientific evidence. And, it used to be that if something was published in the scientific literature, you could be pretty confident that it was right. That's not the case anymore, because these particular types of publications have really watered down the quality of scientific publications.
So one of the problems is the cost, I guess, of getting your hands on actual peer-reviewed medical information online, because, I don't know, we've all been conditioned to want to get everything online for free. How difficult and how expensive is it to get the real stuff?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question, and it's something that really annoys me, because sometimes a scientific paper can cost you $35 to read. Sometimes it can cost $60 to read. And, there's absolutely no reason that there should be that much if it's online. I mean, if you're buying it as a paper copy, maybe. This has been a problem for a long time, because it comes from the old system of where people used to buy a book, and used to get it in the mail. But everyone wants everything now quickly and fast. And so there are models now where scientists can pay a fee, and then their papers will be available for everyone to see. But that is very expensive. That will cost a scientist sometimes $3,000 to do that. And so the other problem with that too is, even if you can get access to those papers, can you interpret them? Because the way that science and medicine is written, it's in a language that is not designed for everyone to understand. So even if I gave a paper to you for free, would you be able to understand what the devil it's about? I work in biology. I don't understand what physicists are talking about. So even scientists don't understand other scientists.
I'd rather have a list of symptoms and a matching list on the other side of the ledger of how I can make those symptoms go away. Is this what Google is doing with its symptom checker and its health cards? What are they?
Yeah, that sort of is what they're doing. They have noticed that people are using their browser a lot to look for health information, and unfortunately, because the stuff on there is not filtered, it's not checked for accuracy, they've decided that they're now setting up this thing called a symptom checker, where you can actually go onto the app. So if you have a smartphone, go into the Google app and you can type in your symptoms, and it will do a search through an algorithm called the knowledge tree, which I don't really understand fully, and I don't think I'm supposed to, because Google tends to keep their algorithms quite secret and they change them a lot. But what they do is they've consulted with doctors at Harvard University in the United States and the Mayo Clinic as well, and they have found links that they will then pull up for you that they deem to be based in evidence and in science to make sure that you're not getting misled. What also happens is on the right-hand side of your screen will pop up a thing called a health card. And these are pretty new. They were launched last month on Google, and they have about 900 different conditions that they describe. They've been designed in consultation with doctors. And so what will happen is, if you maybe type in that you have a cold, a backache and a fever, it will bring up links to websites that they deem are reliable, and it will bring up a health card. And the health cards are really good because they're very simple. They've got an illustration of the type of disease that Google thinks you might have. They have 3 tabs that tell you about the disease, the symptoms, and the treatment. And they also emphasize very big letters that you should go and see a doctor and that this is not a substitute for a face-to-face consultation with your general practitioner. But they do guide you in a direction where you can actually get an idea of whether you are really sick and whether you should see a doctor straight away.
I can see myself using these, Rachel. I don't know how many times I've Googled symptoms of meningitis in the past as a mother of children. But doctors are using these as well, aren't they? How are they using them?
In the United States, they've been around for a little while, and so doctors are actually using them to educate patients on their diseases because they are written in a language that's easy for everyone to understand, and so they can you can download them as a PDF, so everyone can do that. So you can either download them yourself and take them to your doctor if you think that's what you might have, or your doctor can download it and give it to you to say, this is what we think is wrong with you. The Australian Medical Association has cautiously welcomed them as well. The problem is this is not a perfect solution, obviously. It's never going to replace your doctor. And one of the issues that has come up through discussions with my friends who are doctors is, well, if you put in backache to Google, backache is very non-specific. So, is it your lower back that's hurting or your upper back? And that would, definitely have an impact on how a doctor would to diagnose you. So lower back might be your kidneys, upper back might be your lungs. And so there's absolutely no way that you should rely on this only for medical advice, but it's a good start and it can probably help steer people in the right direction.
Great advice. Thank you. That's Dr. Rachael Dunlop from Macquarie University.
Thanks for having me.
From the dawn of time, one podcast has unlocked the secrets of science and technology to enrich the lives of billions. And now, after a year where they've unlocked the golden age of knowledge, they're about to hit warp speed and go stratospheric.
Wait, hold up.
On Oh No, Ross and Carrie, we don't make extraordinary claims, we investigate them.
We go undercover with fringe religious groups, investigate paranormal claims, and we participate in pseudoscientific medical treatments and then report our findings to you.
And yes, we've even investigated Scientology.
Shh, Ross, shh. New episodes every month at MaximumFun.org.
Oh No, Ross and Carrie. They show up so you don't have to.
As I've been alluding to, and I think Maynard too, over the past little while, I've been engaged in a new project. I'm calling it the Great Prediction Project or Project Prediction or something like that. It involves me collating psychic predictions made in Australia by Australian mystics, psychics, clairvoyants, tarot card readers, astrologers, palm readers, what have you. Made and published, independently published, preferably, either online or in magazines, said on radio programs or on TV programs, predictions of coming events. So, for example, I've been heading to the State Library here in Sydney where they have an archival collection of a magazine called Woman's Day. Australians will be familiar with Woman's Day magazine. It's a weekly magazine filled with gossip, celebrity news, royal news, fad diets, that sort of thing. But over the years, they have regularly featured psychics. In fact, every issue, at the back of the issue, there's pages of your horoscope and ads for psychic services. I'm sure you know the kind of thing. Dial this number, Gypsy Psychic sees all, that sort of stuff. But over the years also, they've had features where they've had XYZ Psychic, Madam Whatever or Mr. Whoever, gives their predictions for the coming year. So it's a matter of going through issue by issue since the year 2000, collating these predictions. Also from other sources like the Australian version of the International Psychics Directory. YouTube is a good reference. Over the years, you will find psychics giving predictions. And also my own private collection I've been collating since, well, around the year 2000 anyway. That means if I know A psychic will appear on a TV show as recording the segment, and every now and then the segment will be predictions. Now it's a matter of putting all those into a giant spreadsheet year by year by year, with the year the prediction is meant for. In other words, this prediction will come true in 2006, or whatever the case may be. Who made the prediction, which psychic, seer, mystic, clairvoyant, where it was published or broadcast. For example, Woman's Day magazine, 13th of February, 1999, page 4. The prediction itself. Now, normally they're not too lengthy, but sometimes they need to be boiled down. For example, here's a prediction made in 2007 by Brian Oldfield in the International Psychics Directory, and the prediction says a volcanic eruption will occur on the Indian subcontinent, being the largest on record. Now, that's a quite straightforward prediction, so that would be under the category of natural disasters. I'd put that under. In fact, I already have. Other categories include celebrities, politics, spiritual, which tend to be a bit vague, actually, and terrorism, predictions involving terrorism, things like that. And the next column along in my spreadsheet would say for that particular one, well, wrong, because that's easy to go back and check to see if that prediction actually came true in 2007. And then further than that, if necessary, explanatory notes. For example, if a psychic predict that Big Red would win a horse race, and Big Red didn't, then the explanatory notes would say which horse actually did. Or if the prediction said this team would win the grand final in this particular sport, and the team did or didn't, well, the explanatory note would fill all that out. So far, the tally of predictions is roughly around 1,000 collated so far. But I know I have many, many, many more to do. This is a ongoing, and this will be a lengthy project, I think, spread out through the course of the year to give me time to weasel out predictions, go to archives, find some more wherever I can. But in this early stage, I can tell you, and it's good to have all these things on a spreadsheet, because then you can actually start to generate statistics. I can tell you that and this is no surprise, and I'm not sort of blowing anything here. There's no spoilers. Most predictions are wrong. This is just simply the way it is. But the interesting thing after that is what's left over is divided into too vague. Some predictions, many predictions are simply too vague. For example, here's a prediction made for the year 2007 again. And the prediction reads, many big miracles will occur, mostly unreported, but in India, Egypt and Australia there will be several beautiful ones that will draw attention. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that goes under the too vague column. Many are like that. Many are, as I said, wrong. Most are wrong. Then we get predictions that are expected. For example, if a certain politician is just simply expected to win the next election, that can be put under the expected column. Or if a young married couple are predicted to have a baby and they're trying, well, that's expected. Again, this is open to interpretation, I guess. Some predictions are 50-50. If there's a sporting event with two teams and the psychic predicts one team will win. And some are very difficult to tell what they are. Some are very long. Some go on for paragraph after paragraph of talking about the moon conjunction with the stars and this planet is in this, so some people will feel, and on it goes. And in there, if you look carefully and read it again, you will actually find the prediction and what it actually means. So yeah, a very interesting project. More about that as the year progresses. So yes, no spoilers, most predictions are wrong. And now it's a matter of finishing this as far as I can, and I expect to end up in the region of 2,000 or so predictions made from about the year 2000 to the current year. So, more news on this predicting project over the next few months.
Hey, Heidi.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Hi, Heidi.
Oh, hi, Maynard.
Hi, Maynard.
Oh, hi, Joe.
Nice day in this park, yeah?
Yes, great weather.
Oh, look, a unicorn.
A unicorn? There are no such things as unicorns, silly.
Yes, there are.
No, there isn't.
Hey, ladies, what are you arguing about?
Joe thinks unicorns are real.
They so are.
Let's look this up in the Skeptic's Dictionary.
The what?
How can we do that in this park? There are no computers here.
You ladies probably don't know about the Skeptic's Dictionary app, available now for iPhone, iPad and iPod Touch in the App Store.
Yeah, we do. We've been listening to the Skeptic Zone for years, you know.
Yes, okay. The app lets you access all the great Skeptic's Dictionary articles when you're on the go. Here, let me look up unicorns.
Oh, cool. Heidi, prepare to be proven wrong.
It says here the unicorn is a creature from fables.
Aha.
Actually, I see now that someone just dumped their ice cream cone on that horse's head.
Thanks, Skeptic Dictionary iPhone app.
That's just some guy in his undies.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone this week, and thank you to all those lovely people, those kind people, those generous people, those people who chip in every week via PayPal or Patreon. Your donations help keep the show going. In fact, in the last week, I was able to buy Maynard a little bit of equipment that he needed, and that is, again, thank you to the generosity of Skeptic Zone listeners. Coming up on next week's show, I don't know. I can't predict the future. Can you? Can you predict the future? Maybe you can write your predictions to me and tell me what's coming up on next week's show. I'm sure something will. I hope so. But I can predict it will have something to do with science or skepticism. I know it's a long shot, but there you go. I'll put my neck out and say that. In fact, coming up soon, I'll be telling you about some predictions non-psychics have made for this year. It'll all make sense, I hope. It'll all make sense. But for this week, with the rain still holding off just, I'm sure we're going to get another downpour soon. This is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter @SkepticZone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.
Okay, hang on. Ready? I'm going to take a much-deserved sip of wine now. You ready? Ready?
What was that?
That was Chardonnay, darling. Actually, no, it wasn't Chardonnay. It was Sauvignon Blanc.
Have some.
I was halfway through a glass when you rang me.
Oh, this might end up on the bloopers. Thank you, Heidi.
Go for it. All right, I better get back to these people. I'll talk to you online soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.